Hello, welcome back to the Mr. Arsenal podcast for a something different. We don't usually do all this sort of stuff because we don't usually come across like things like this. But over the weekend, obviously, most of us know Kevin Campbell sadly lost his life after a short-term illness at the age of 54. Obviously, came from the Arsenal Academy from South London, Everton legend as well, along with Trasbourne, Forest, Cardiff, West Brom, etc. And we thought we'd come here today and give him something he deserves in terms of it's all well and good doing talking about him in streams that are not dedicated to do an actual proper show solely dedicated to him. And as you can see, I am joined by Liam. How you doing, Liam?
Yeah, good evening, mate. Yeah, I'm okay, mate. Not bad. Just want to say, obviously, first and foremost, obviously, thank you for inviting me on the show tonight. 8 hours on it ain't got any easier, and I just think it's great that we're able to talk about a fantastic guy, an absolute gentleman, and a very good football player with it, and hopefully reminisce over some of his great times that we've had with him.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, definitely. Also, we've got Ian. How you doing, Ian? How have you processed all this for the last few days?
I'm good, Ryan. Thanks. And again, I'll echo Liam's sentiments. Thanks very much for having me on. And it's an honour to honour Kevin Campbell. Like, he was a big part of Arsenal in the 1990s. And it is hard to process somebody so young, 54 years of age. Like, I'm not that far off that myself. And just taken far too young. And thankfully, he's left us with so many great memories that we can talk about tonight.
Yeah. And lastly, we're joined by Neil. I hope you can hear us, Neil. How you doing? How's your weekend been?
I'm all right. Sorry about the cam. I may jump off and try and restart my device and see if that helps. But Ryan, thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it, and it's an honour to be here, and also to talk about a legend. And anything, if it evokes good memories for everyone that's listening, that'll be a bonus. But yeah, just honoured to talk about him, but also a pleasure to be on. And also Liam, Ian, lovely to see you as well. And Ryan, I know you can't see me. It's not a bad thing, actually.
Oh dear. Well, I'll pass over to Liam. He's got a few bits to get started with. I know there's one thing in particular you wanted to touch on.
Yeah, so Kevin Joseph Campbell, born on the 4th of February 1970. Obviously from Lambeth in London, a proper London boy, born and bred. Bit South London, bit like myself as well, which is obviously nice. Come through the Arsenal Academy from 1985. Made his first team debut in 1988, ironically against Everton Football Club. Not sure if many people know that. He then went on loan in 1989 to Leyton Orient, where he scored quite several key goals, and I know he's thought of very fondly there. He come back. He then went on loan to Leicester as well, where he scored 5 goals in 11 games there. And then he come back to the Arsenal, didn't he? He got his chance under George Graham, and boy, did he take that chance. 1990 to 1991, he steamrolled in the back end of that season, where the famous only one defeat in that season, which was against Chelsea away, and we won the Premier League, and that was literally about our skipper at the time, Tony Adams, for the majority of that season, and it was just a fantastic time to be there. And I always remember I got a ticket for the last game of the season there, and it was against Coventry, and we beat them 6-1, and just did by hat-trick. And I always remember, and I said it to Kevin, and about 6 months to a year ago, one of my claim to fame is I made it into Shoot magazine that day when Arsenal had were lifting up the trophy, and it was the famous back five. There's a picture of the famous back five, and I'm behind in the crowd giving it one of them. And it was just a brilliant time, and it was good because back in them days, a lot of our team was obviously coming through from the academy. George Graham had done so well in terms of bringing them through, and Kevin was a massive part of that one. And I felt, my personal opinion, that Kevin Campbell's probably best couple of seasons were probably 93, 94. He scored some key goals in the cup runs, which got us to the cup finals. He started in both cup finals, and I think it was unfortunate for Kevin, but obviously fortunate for the club because the hero that he became, that Ian Wright got signed. But Kevin never moaned. Kevin never complained. Kevin built up a relationship with Ian Wright. And as I said yesterday, Ryan, I've never known a partnership where when they scored goals, they were just so happy together. They obviously had goal celebrations that they lined up. They were so good. And Ian Wright always stole the show. And this is another one I always remember, being 94, and it was my birthday, December the 27th. Kevin got an hat trick at Swindon. Ian Wright only got one, but he decided to chip the goalkeeper the last minute from 40 yards. And typical Wrighty, that's what everyone talked about, was obviously the 40-yard chip. But that was Kevin, weren't it? He was such an unselfish person, and that's what I'm trying to get at. He was so unselfish. He played for the team. He contributed so much. He scored so many key goals for us. And obviously, Bruce Riot come in, and then he was quite vocal in terms. He said that he didn't feel that he was going to move forward with the club, and it was time to go. Where he went to Nottingham Forest. And I know he spent a good 2-3 years there. He scored a fair few, got a lot of goals there. I think it was just under 1 goal a game, something like that. He had a pretty good record there. And if I remember rightly, when Kevin left, it led to Pierre van Hooijdonk going on strike. And that just shows yet again how highly regarded Kevin was as a player. He went out to Turkey, spent some time out there. But then he come back, didn't he? And he made his name yet again for Everton. And I spoke to Everton fans in the past. They were going through a bad time that there. I know they haven't been going for a good time now. But what they said was that Kevin got them straight away. Kevin got them. He come in. He saved them from relegation. He played for the shirt. And he ended up being their captain. And he deserved that through just the hard work that he put in, because he was so unselfish. He done so much, especially for us. He'd gone obviously on to play for clubs, and I think he found himself again at Everton. And he had some really, really good times there. I know he obviously went to West Brom, where I think he saved it, to be fair, yet again, saved them from relegation. And then sadly, obviously, Cardiff was the last straw, and obviously it didn't go too well there. But that is him as a player. Now, as a man, I said to you yesterday, Ryan, I've never known someone in the media from a fellow football professional player to be so engaged with the supporters. And he touches hearts of everyone. We can't just say it's like 3, 4, 5, 6 different people. The amount of people that come up and say, like, he's such a nice guy. The amount of pictures that you're seeing now, that he had pictures taken with them. He was on everyone's podcasts. He always had time for everyone. I first done a podcast with him coming on Ryan's channel, and that was for charity. And that just showed Kevin what Kevin was about. He would always put someone else first before him. And I just, honestly, as I said, like, I'm just proud that I was able to engage with him. I was proud that I was able to spend time with him. And I was proud that he firstly sent me a video on my wedding day to wish me well. And also on the births of my sons as well. And for me, that just says a lot. Like, I'm getting emotional now, but it is what it is, mate. The bloke was so selfless, and he did it for everyone. He did that for everyone. It weren't just like myself and a group of people. He did that for everyone. And we've lost an absolute legend, and we've lost him way too young, in my opinion. And I'm absolutely devastated.
Yeah, and it's totally understandable, especially because the things that he did, even for he said mentioned at the end there, the video on your wedding day, and your birth, your boys, and all that. He wasn't prompted. He just did it. He did it of his own kindness, of his own being, of who he was. He wasn't asked to do it or paid to do it. He just did it, bang, because that's the sort of person he was. Straight down the middle, genuine. Look after someone, treat someone else like he'd want to be treated. That's for everyone. That went for everyone. And he just went out. He'd bend over backwards to make sure he'd make someone's day, even if it's interacting with someone on social media. This would make their day. Or I remember the last time I actually saw him in person, it was Arsenal v Everton, when Lampard was there, last game of the season. Obviously, he's been invited there on behalf of the clubs and instead of getting out of his car and going straight to media entrance, he's obviously been spotted on the way there. And he started taking photos of people who were lined up, and he's literally until everyone stopped queuing and just whatever, he stayed there. He's just photo after photo after photo, and interacting and had chat with them, every single one of them. And that was the sort of person he'll make time for anyone, and that was what he was. And that
And the one thing
that showed how appreciative he was of his career, how appreciative he was of everyone, no matter what. He wasn't one of these what you see nowadays, having security around him, refusing to do any sort of photos or podcast appearances or anything like that.
Oh, sorry.
No. But yeah, sorry, Ian, I'll let you bring it coming. I was bringing Neil in while you're doing that. Go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that it's telling that since he passed, there have been as many clips of him sending messages of support. Like those videos that he was sending to you, Liam. Like he used to send videos of support to people who were going through a rough time, and all the pictures. And in the last kind of 48 hours, there have been as many of those clips floating around Twitter as there have been of his goals and his career playing for Arsenal, Everton, and the rest of the clubs. And that's really telling, that he was just an amazing person, more so than he was an amazing footballer. That just struck me, that how many clips of just him, sending messages to people and being the great kind man that he was.
And Neil's come back. Neil, what I don't know if you're listening, but what was your thoughts of Kevin as not just as a player, but as a person as well over the years that you've been on social media and interacted and all that?
Firstly, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having to use my phone. My iPad is not playing ball, so sorry about this. So I don't know how long I can be on, but I will do my best. Kevin, I was hearing bits of what you guys were saying. I was trying to get something sorted here. And great words from all of you. And I echo the sentiments. He everyone talks about Rocky Rocastle and the impact that he's had, the legacy he's left, and what a wonderful player he was. And I think Kevin was of similar traits with his character. Everyone who speaks of him, everyone who's been fortunate enough to meet him or interact with him in social media, or he's guest appeared on so many podcasts, and they've shared that with him. All they've spoken about him is just how nice and a generous person he is, and that's the hardest part. 54 is no age at all. It's just so young. I mean, he's my age. I'm exactly the same age, born in the same year of 1970. I remember I used to go and watch him live, and I used to go to the games in the late 80s and early 90s. And, he brought a lot of joy to so many Arsenal fans with his striking prowess and his goals that he scored. And he's contributed to some amazing goals to some, important competitions. But he's always kept that humility and that humbleness, and he's always had time for everyone. There's a lot of people that I reach out to on Twitter, in terms of ex-football players and stuff, and only very few respond or maybe like your tweet, and he was one of them. Always, sometimes he responded or he liked the tweet. And I think that's a testament to his character and how he carried himself as a human being. For me, he was not just a great striker, and I think just quickly get in there, I think he was quite underrated as well. I think he was quite good at what he did, but he was also a great human being and a great football man, because obviously he knew his stuff. He went on to become a pundit, and he was just well liked. He was well dressed, well presented. He did his Dickie Bow Thursday. Sorry if you guys repeat some of this, but I just was in awe of the man, and I just felt that if more people like that could be like him in life, the world would be a better place, because he was someone who could have been arrogant, could have been a bit of a show off, and he wasn't. End of the day, you think about it, he domestically won all trophies and he won a European Cup with Arsenal. So, he's achieved a fair amount, really, when you think about it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on him as a general overview.
And yeah, and just as you say on that bit about he pretty much won everything you could at the time with Arsenal. It wasn't like he was a bit pot player. He had a big say in every single one of them bits of silverware that he won. I mean, like someone has said already, like we've mentioned, as other people have mentioned, Tariq mentioned, his grand fault, Kev was right, his big brother, the way he was so supportive of Wrighty when Wrighty arrived. We mentioned that before already tonight. But he was loved at every club he went to. Even when he went to Trasbury briefly, the fans loved him, and he loved it back. He there's the last couple of days since obviously this news come about. There's been videos of him when he talked about his times at Everton when Rooney was just coming through at 14, or even more recently since he's been retired. He's been in Everton in the area, gone to the local bar. A fan's seen him, wanted to film him. He said, "What do you think? What colour is that Merseyside?" Things like that. He's like blue, the reds, because he got what he got what it meant. It was to be an Evertonian in terms of the culture, the club, the way they wanted to do things and go about things. I remember him it's been on a few times, and one of the first few times we did a tribute show for Rocky Roadcast on his anniversary during the lockdown. It was me, James Rowe, and Lee Judges with Kev. And Kev tells us a story of on the 89 celebrations. Obviously, gone from winners, gone back to Highbury with a few members of staff, putting some stuff away and all that at Marble Halls. And they happened to bump into a fan that completely passed out, drunk, from celebrating, obviously. And Rocky's gone and got a few beers, so we wake him up. Yeah. The fact with what Rocky did in terms of the interaction and stacking around with the guy, making the effort, making that guy's day, even at early hours in the morning, making his day, taking him into the stadium, sitting him down, having a drink with him, and then seeing him off the way he did. He said that left giving that fan that moment left a lasting impression on Kevin himself, and you can tell that's the case because that's what he's done ever since. And I've reached out to the lead judges as well because obviously he was more closer to. He had a real genuine friendship as well. He's been taking it hard as well, mate. And that's again, we've only known Kevin. In terms of personal, we've only known Kevin for a few X amount of years, 4, 5, 6 years, or however long. And the impressions he's leaving on us as we speak now speaks volumes. Like he is a brilliant man, and he's going to be missed. And 50, as you say, 54 is it's no age. It really isn't. He's, as I say, he's going to be missed. But Melvin wanted to come on tonight, but he's obviously busy. But he did send me a video that I've passed over to Liam, so Liam can show that. That's just because of What's that?
It's a stage now, guys. Now we decided to freeze. Can you believe it? Oh, okay. I don't know why it's not enlarging up though.
Might go into messages itself. I can close that down and go into it properly. I don't know.
Let's try again.
Campbell, yeah. I remember when he first made his debut.
Yeah.
There've been loads of words written about Kevin Campbell over the past 48 hours. And you get the picture. If you've never met the guy, I've seen the guy, what a type of person he was. You get the warmth, the feeling of warmth and the passion he showed for life, actually, for the game, obviously. And he gave his time to people. He would speak to everybody and anyone. He'd join in. He never give it the big no. If you never knew who he was, you would never have realised he was a top-class footballer. I've done a couple of pods with him. I've been a guest on a couple of shows, and he didn't take over at all. He was just one of the other guys on the pod. And he was a pleasure to be on, and I've listened to many of his pods on the Highbury squad, for example. Absolutely superb. Really enjoyed listening to him, and he made obviously a lot of sense. He was a wonderful human being. You speak to most people that met him. I never met him. I've seen him out, and I saw the way he reacts around people, and people reacted around him. He was a wonderful wonderful human being, and he also could play a little bit of football. Yes, he will be missed. He won't be forgotten. Kevin Campbell, yeah, I remember when he first made his debut. I thought, my God, he cannot be that age. But he was, and he was that good.
Pretty much summarises what we've been saying about the guy. Even events that Melvin mentions there, the podcast appearances, either be on here, on Lee Justice's channel, Dan Potts, obviously the High School, where he obviously was co-host along with Sophie. And even then, even going back to touching the High Squad, obviously Sophie, as we all know, she's had some challenging times basically in the last 12 months or so. And when she needed time out, he stepped up and he was there for her, even off camera and this, that, and the other, giving her the support that any true fan would. But in terms of the podcast, go back to the appearances on the podcast. Like Melvin said, he never interrupted. He never spoke down to anyone just because he was the next player. He took, no matter what the people's opinions were of whatever the situation was, he'd always come at it with the point of view as an ex-player or someone that's been in that dressing room, been in that situation these days, and just say, "Oh, this is my point of view, but I see where you're coming from." But da 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 da, and it was so it wasn't demeaning. It wasn't speaking down to you. It was just on a I'm just giving you how I've experienced things, and let me see if you can reassess things. If not, it's all good. He never had a bad bone in his body, and he, as I say, he never had an ego, as we keep saying. But yeah, Collins in the chat as well says only had a few conversations with Kev, but he was a class act and a wonderful human being. Because yes, Colin was one of the podcasts we did on this channel as well. So yeah, he's. I don't know. Liam, do you want to take over for a sec? I'm running out of things to say.
Yeah. No, I'll just kind of echo what everyone said, like in terms of obviously Kevin being Kevin. I know Neil said like the Dickie Bow Thursday. It was a tradition. He would do that every Thursday. One thing I always noticed about Kevin as well, he was very routine in what he did. Like he was always up early. If you notice, all his first messages used to be at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah. And I had a lot of respect for that because I can't get myself up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. And I always thought to myself, I don't know how he does it. But that was Kevin. That was how he led his life. And I think it's interesting. Like we talk about Kevin as a human being, we're talking about being a gentleman. And sometimes I feel that we're not valuing him as the player as much when we should. But for me, that's a testament to him in terms of who he is and what he's brought to others, especially since he's gone into retirement and obviously done his media stuff. And when I was watching back the other day, there was a Sky Sports clip of he went on there every Thursday and had his Dickie Bow on, and the guy come on actually with a Dickie bow tie, and you could just tell that he touched so many people with the stuff that he did in the background. And it weren't just like obviously the fans, it was obviously people that he worked with. He was just an unbelievable man, an absolute unbelievable man. But I think we should talk about him as a player as well.
Yeah, I agree, Liam. You think about that. Neil touched on it a little while ago, like how decorated he was especially as an Arsenal player. He won everything. He won every domestic trophy going. And when you think that Arsenal have only won 2 European trophies in their history, more to come. Kevin Campbell was a big part of one of those, a very big part. He scored a really important goal in the semi-final against PSG, that near post header. I remember watching it. And like how he squeezed it in was unbelievable. And yeah, like he was an amazing player. He was big, he was powerful, he used to love running off the defender's shoulder. So many goals, if you watch them back, it's him just getting off the defender's shoulder and the ball being played through to him. He loved running in behind. He was like very pacey. He wasn't the taller, like he was 6'1". Like he wasn't like he was big, he was kind of broad, but he wasn't like 6'4" or anything like that. But he knew how to use his height. And I used to love when I used to tune into Match of the Day. it wasn't just the goals I wanted to see. I wanted to see him and what him and Ian Wright's latest celebration was. I just loved the two of those coming up with ideas. And I was looking at a clip. One of my favourite Kevin Campbell goals was against Crystal Palace. We beat Palace 4-1, and Lee Dixon throws the ball in to Kevin Campbell. He lays it off to Ian Wright, who flicks it over to Kevin Campbell, who volleys it. And an absolute peach of a goal, a cracker of a goal. And Kevin Campbell runs off and he's celebrating with another player. But if you watch the clip, Ian Wright runs over to him and he's shouting. He's standing about 2 yards away from him and he's shouting at Kevin, saying, Kevin, you can see him go, hey, because they obviously have a routine worked out of a celebration, and Kevin's too busy celebrating with whoever it was, and then the clip just kind of cuts off, and that made me smile because, those two were really good together. I'm not surprised somebody said in the comments that their mom used to think, or their gran used to think, they were brothers. You can understand why, like, they were so good together.
Yeah, they were. They were. As I said, they were brilliant together. I don't think I've seen a double partnership that, like you said, celebrates the goals like they do, but have the smile on their faces as well. Neil, what's your favourite moments of Kevin Campbell as a player in the Arsenal shirt?
I think there's quite a few. Obviously, he contributed to the some of the goals that led us to win the FA Cup in '93. Also, he was involved in some of the goals which led us to win the Winners' Cup as well. But the one that stands out, because it's not the thing that happens often, is the hat trick. I think you mentioned, was it you that mentioned it earlier? And then Ian Wright ruined it for him by scoring a pretty good chip at the end, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah.
I think it was. So it's like he almost still stole the thunder. It's typical Wright, isn't it? But I actually just watched the reel of that just before I came on. Funny enough, and it was just, for me, he was. I said it earlier. I think he was underrated, but I think he was also unlucky, because you got to remember when he first kind of broke through and started doing well at Arsenal. You had like the likes of Merson up front. You had Alan Smith up front, and they were the main two, weren't they? I guess. And you also then I think obviously then there's Wrighty as well. But I mean, you did play a lot with Wrighty, but I just felt that the chances that he was one of these class acts that you wouldn't see complaining when he wasn't picked or he wasn't playing, and he just got on with it. And when he did get on with it, I thought he was underrated. I thought, I think, Ian, you described him to a T. He was a typical sort of old school striker in my eyes, and that's the way he played the game. And he took it with aplomb. And what I loved about him, it's not any particular moment or goal. It's just that he played with a smile on his face. And that's what I remember about him. And I'm not trying to sort of like just get away with picking a moment. I just remember him just being a very happy guy, very honoured to be playing for the Cannon. And what is also a testament to the man is he had just as much as love for Everton. And what I liked about our fans, our fan base, is, when a player goes to another club, maybe we lose a little bit of that kind of admiration for them, don't we? We lose a little bit of that love for them. But with Kevin Campbell, no one lost any love. He's equally loved by Arsenal fans as he is with Everton fans, and that's what that is. It says a lot about the man. And every time he spoke on social media, whether Arsenal were going to play a key game or Everton were going to play a key game, he would speak about both clubs with the same passion. There was never any kind of bias to either or. And I just loved everything about him, to be honest. And I wish he had a bit more of a career with Arsenal, but he done really well when he went to Everton. He helped them a lot, and I think they were struggling, weren't they, at that stage? And he's just going to be fondly remembered by both clubs. And to be fair, I think all the clubs that he touched, because I'm sure all of them, in their own way, the ex-players that played with him and the fans will have decent memories of the man. And it's nice for a change when a world is full of nastiness and badness. And, you get people getting criticised for everything that they just literally breathing. You have one person out there in social media, at least, that's, I don't think there's ever a bad word said about the man. Hasn't been since his passing, sadly, but even when he was alive, I don't recall any bad words about him. So for me, a great model, a football icon. And someone that young kids could look up to as well. I know, they're always going to look at the new modern day footballers, but if anyone wants to say, look at this guy, look how he carried himself, he was the man. I think that they could touch on to use as an example. So my memories are very wide in general. So sorry, Liam, if they didn't really answer your question, but I do remember the hat trick very well, which was pleasing.
Yeah, no, I think you've answered it superbly well, to be fair. And it's quite iconic that I got these two shirts, and someone said to me probably about a year ago when I bought this shirt, "Who does it remind you of?" And I swear down on my son's life, I was like Kevin Campbell. But this shirt here, I would say it would remind me of Ian Wright, because I just feel when Kevin was at his peak, probably at us, and he was scored. I think he scored in probably 93 or 94 was his best season for us. I think he scored 19 goals, and I just remember really good times in this shirt. And one thing I haven't done, and I regret doing, and I'm going to do it, is get his name on the back of this shirt. I don't usually go for names on the back of shirts, but I've done it with Righty, and I need to do it with this shirt as well. And I'm quite disappointed I haven't done it. But for me, I think with Kevin, I think the problem Kevin had was obviously firstly Ian Wright come in, so Ian Wright was the main man. But we become a cup team, and I think Kevin become very much a cup player. And I think when you start thinking about Kevin's probably most iconic moments, they're all in cup matches a lot of the time. So as we spoke about, the Paris Saint-Germain is obviously the big one. Massive moment, obviously, got us to the first European final for, was it 24 years, something like that. Absolute. Pardon?
So it was 23
Oh,
years.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Massive moment. But I think he also forgets he scored against Benfica as well in the European Cup. So he was a big game player, but I feel he became very much a cup player, and I think Arsenal became very much of a cup team, and our kind of form went. And when a new manager went out and a new manager come in, I think the very much focus was, yeah, Arsenal are a good cup team, but what we're going to do to make Arsenal a really good league team again. And I think Kevin got sacrificed with that, sadly. And yeah, I think his form did deteriorate near the end, but I think there was a lot of factors with that. I think obviously what happened with George Graham in the background affected a lot of players. And obviously there was a change of management. Obviously Bruce Rioch coming in was only a short-term thing, and it naturally wasn't really a fix at the time. But I just feel like with Kevin, he sacrificed a lot for Arsenal, for me, but he had a lot of great moments as well that obviously we do remember and obviously cherish. And there were some big moments. And I honestly believe that 93 double cup run, he scored some big goals in them. I'm sure he scored against Millwall. There was another at Derby, maybe. He scored some key goals to get us back into games when it looked like we was going out the cups at the time. So yeah, for me, an incredible player. Just going to go back over to you, Ryan. Have you got like a key Kevin Campbell moment as a player?
Well, there's so many, but I think it is literally the first time him and Wrighty played together. Just because it's as we've mentioned, it could have quite easily got a bit upset over it because obviously it was a big fee at the time for Ian as well, big character as well for Ian, and he could have quite easily gone, I'm not wanted here, I'm going to move elsewhere at the time. You know, he just dug deep, professional, and he worked a partnership with him, and he didn't let someone coming in affect him. When you compare that to nowadays, where you'll see someone playing a certain position, and then someone comes in to provide that competition, they don't like that person that's already there, doesn't like it, and they run off because they don't want that fight. He was happy to have that fight, but also he's happy to form a partnership if they all ever played together. We mentioned it yesterday, Liam. Every goal they scored on the pitch together. Every goal they scored, there's a choreographed celebration to a T, and they was just like brothers. And literally, there's that fact. There's the infamous, well, the infamous at the time that now become the iconic photo of him and Wrighty outside a nightclub or something with long, literally down to their toes, leather jackets. It's like typical 90s fashion, and it's just like only they could do it and put it off and be comfortable with each other. And I think what rams at home is obviously when this happened on Saturday, obviously Wrighty's in Germany doing some stuff with ITV for the Euros, and he didn't really want to talk about it because he didn't want to get upset like we saw you earlier. He didn't want to let his emotions get the better of him because he said, if I start, I'm not going to stop because I love that guy. And then I feel for Wrighty as well because he's now two best mates of his that he's lost. And the one positive, well, it's not positive, but in one sense, but at least now, Rocky's got a friend up there with him in Kev. they're back together, and they're just waiting for Ian whenever that may be. Hopefully,
a lot of carnage up there when Ian gets up there with them too.
Hopefully, touch wood.
They're playing keepy uppies up there.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But also, I want to say in terms of what we've been saying about Kev, about his personality, how he portrayed himself off the pitch after he retired and all in his media work. He was so loved. Even I've seen this weekend Tottenham fans put their rivalry aside and pay respect and homage to Kevin, even though he did play for Arsenal. They're literally rivalries aside. He's a great player and a great person. And this and the other. That in itself speaks volumes. That rivals are willing to put their rivalry aside and not take shots, and actually pay respect to someone so brilliant like he was.
Yeah, and just to touch on something that Neil said very eloquently about him and Righty, but Kevin played with such a smile on his face, as we were saying, and that's a huge thing. I was a young kid playing football myself in Dublin, and watching these guys have fun on the football pitch was hugely important, because it showed that that's what the sport was supposed to be. You think of players today, you think of, say, somebody like Bruno Fernandes, who just runs around in a sulk the whole time, runs after referees and moans the whole time. You barely see a smile on his face, and there's so many players like that. And it was refreshing. He was a role model to a lot of people, I think, in terms of how he conducted himself. And he was the first black captain for Everton Football Club, which is a huge honor for him. And there he has been a role model again. He transcends football as well. It's not just Arsenal and Everton fans and Forest fans who love him. You look at all fans took to him on social media. You look at when he was on, like, say, Sky Sports or any of the Talk Sports or anything like that. Everybody loved him. There was a Talk Sport tip with Perry Groves on it as well, and the two hosts before that were getting upset as well. With the news, he was just like, it's not just Arsenal and Everton, the two big clubs, I suppose, are the two clubs he played for the longest, that loved him. It was everybody. He just transcends the whole sport, and not many people do that. Not many people can do that, and that tells a lot about the man.
Yeah. There was you guys. Sorry to interrupt. I think I completely agree with that, Ian. And the other thing that you guys were mentioning was the celebration routines with Wright, and people, I suppose, modern day fans would remember possibly Aubameyang and Henry Adebayor and Henry doing it, and then later Aubameyang and Lacazette doing it. But Wrighty and Campbell were the original two, weren't they? That were kind of involved in the celebrations and things. So that's a little sort of tick on his box. But I'm just ignoring with what you guys are saying. And Ryan, you talked about the Spurs fans, and that's exactly it. The fact that I don't think there's many people who can genuinely have a bad word to say about him. There isn't, because what can you say that's negative about the guy? He was just a welcoming beacon of light for everyone, and I think that's just I'll keep using the word testament, and I don't think it's enough really. I think he transcends that. Just amazing footballer and an amazing human being.
Yeah, and obviously, as I mentioned earlier, it was like the videos I've been seeing about when he was introduced to Rooney, when Rooney was like 14 in the academy, and he's like, the academy coach is saying, treat him like he's a senior team player, see what happens. And Kevin was a bit taken back, but he did it. And when he was doing it, he was shocked, but he realised what sort of player Rooney was and what he's capable of. And obviously, since then, we've seen Rooney on his social medias and put his tribute out there and saying, like, thanking him for putting his arm around him and guiding him at the start of his career.
Yeah, and just a touch as well, very quickly, because he was there when Wayne Rooney was starting off his career, and he was in the Everton youths. Kevin Campbell scored 59 goals in one season for Arsenal for the youth team. 59 goals in one season. Like, Wayne Rooney was good, So was Kevin Campbell back then, you know.
And
Anyone a Youth Cup.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's a player who won a Youth Cup with Arsenal.
Yep.
And I suppose one thorn he'd probably have is that he had 4 England under 21 appearances and 1 England B call up. And sometimes I do think he's a little bit disappointed that he never got that called up into the England squad, because I was sitting there thinking about it, and it weren't hardly that it was cutting up trees at that point, was we? When I think about, like, when I'm saying that I think his best seasons were like probably around 93, 94. And when you think about that time, Gary Lineker had obviously left England. You look at, it wasn't going right for Graham Taylor as it is. And I think that he could have at that point, if he was fortunate, got that England call up, but it never materialised for him. And I do think that's a slight shame, because I think it doesn't show him the testament of what a good player he was. And I think if he had gone and played for England, he would never, like what we know, he wouldn't have let him down. And I think he'd have given it his all. So yeah, I do think that's the only thing in terms of his career. He would have probably looked back on and thought, that was my time, and I just didn't get given the opportunity. Really, I don't know what you think about that, Ian.
Yeah, he probably deserved at least a call up, you know. There were kind of a good few strikers around at the time, but as you say, Gary Lineker was finishing up. But England kind of always had a wealth of strikers. There's a good few players who never got England call ups who should have. And Kevin, unfortunately, was one of them. I think he did. He got called up. He was he kind of a backup in one of the squads. But it was only if somebody got injured, but nobody did. But look, I'd say if you offered Kevin the career that he had without the England cap, he'd be quite happy with it, you know. But it would have been lovely. It would have been the feather in his cap, excuse the pun, if he'd have gotten, you know, on the pitch for England at some stage.
Yeah, no, fully agreed. I'll pass back over to you, Ryan.
No, I mean, let's go obviously forward to his obviously after he leaves Everton, he goes to West Brom, and again he was given the armband straight away in a season where they needed, obviously it was the bottom of Christmas. No club had ever pulled it around where they survived to the last. They pulled it around and survived that season. He comes in as a leader of the experience that he had and the goals and what he could bring to that team, and he led them to get out of that. And again, even that short stint he was there, he's loved there because of what the contribution he had there. I think I've said a lot about Kevin since Saturday, since the news came out Saturday, because I spent like 40 minutes on this on Saturday as well. But I was meant to do a watch on and start touching it, but no, 40 odd minutes was game was there. But I don't know what to say in terms of what he was a great person, but also, yeah, just say he was a fantastic player that sadly, from an international point of view, was under appreciated. But from a club point of view, wherever he went, he always put a shift in. He left everything on the pitch. Even when he went to Turkey, when he was being unveiled as a player, and in front of the fans and all that, there's a tradition they do and all that. He's like, they don't know him, warned him. He's gone out. He's like, it's all happening. I'm not going to go into detail because but he's just sort of kicking up a fuss and all that. Saying, I'm not going to get involved. He just went ahead and done it, and he got embraced. And then until the second he finds out about these teammates not getting paid their wages, he's like, you know what? I'm not an individual. I'm a team player here. So if you're not going to pay them until you do, I'm not playing. Basically, and obviously that led to him coming back to Premier League, to Everton. But he was selfless, and then even in his retirement, like as I say, Michael Bridges, was on Sky on Saturday when obviously the news has come through and they're asking these presenters their thoughts on Kevin because they've met Kevin via Sky and things like that. Michael is like you was earlier, holding back the tears, on the verge of burst, literally on air, full-fledged tears in in disbelief, but also at the same time happy tears because he had them moments, he had them memories. Because even in his media work, he put everything into it. He didn't arrive and think he was the big I am and this, that, and the other because he's the next player. He said he'd turn up for meetings to do research and this, that, and the other. But he'd get the whole team around. He'd be in the middle of it, but he'd get the whole team around and they'd do it as a collective. It wouldn't be oh, I'm here now. What's the job? Okay, and do it. He got everyone around him, and he made everyone feel wanted and welcome and not intimidated because of who he once was as a player. And again, like Neil said, there's not been a bad word, not even since Saturday, but even before that. I mean, I'm going to say life's a bitch, and basically life's cool, and the good ones always get taken before anyone else. It's fucking hard. It's horrible because he was brilliant, and yeah. I don't know what else to say. It's just like you say, Liam. Like we said about your situation in terms of obviously your wedding day and the other bits and pieces. He just wanted, not just to you, but everyone else. He did similar videos. We've seen them over the last few days. It was off his own back, and you can't. And I think that's the era. That's the era of player that's sort of fading out now. That generation of players, they do that, but he went well above and beyond, and he didn't phase him. Even if he reached out to him to come onto here or whatever, if he was busy at the time, he'd say, "No, I'm busy now, but I'm free X, Y, and Z on a certain day, a couple of weeks' time," and we'd get it all done with, and this, that, and the other. And it was brilliant, and
I think it was quite interesting when we had Andrew on, who'd obviously played with him through his youth football.
Yeah.
And I was going to reach out to him, but I just thought it was pretty. I was still very fresh.
I think it's too raw for him.
Yeah, it would be too raw and too fresh to even ask the question. But as he said at the time, like he was a fabulous player, and he knew straight away what talent that Kevin possessed. And I just think when Kevin got older, I think Kevin used his experience very well with Everton and West Brom. I think even when he went to Forest, he probably wasn't the main man because Van Hooijdonk was there at the time. Yeah. But I think when Kevin found himself at Everton, he found himself as the main man, but he didn't just find himself as the main man. He found himself as a leader. And when you start thinking about that, he's played under probably, in my opinion, the best captain I've ever seen in Tony Adams. You got David O'Leary. You're talking about legends of that calibre that Kevin has played with, been looked after when he was young, and from that, he was then able to give that to a Wayne Rooney. And I just think that Kevin found himself at the right place at the right time at Everton, and I think Everton were very, very, very fortunate that they got him at that point, because I think at that point he had so much experience in his locker, but he'd been led under some unbelievable captains, and I think he found himself at Everton, and he basically took himself to that next level where he's going, I'm going to lead this team now. And they, as you said, the Everton fans absolutely love him. There's not a bad word to say. And even on social media, let's be honest, you get the idiots. Someone sadly passed away and someone cracks a joke or nothing. I've seen nothing of a sort whatsoever. And that for me tells me, what a caliber of guy this is, but how well he's respected, not just in the fan bases of Arsenal, Everton, Nottingham Forest, West Brom. It's countrywide that everyone respected Kevin Campbell for who he was, and you could see that when he started doing when he was on Sky. He was very bubbly. He was very assured in what he was saying. But also he brought warmth, and you know what it's like. He'll come on. He wouldn't make you feel inferior, and he'll build good relationships with people. And that showed with me in that Sky interview with the Dicky bow tie. And I know it's something only little, but I just thought that is typical Kevin Campbell. That in a nutshell is Kevin Campbell in a nutshell, because no other ex-football player would do that. And I'm just gutted. I'm just gutted that we've lost him so soon, because I think that he was doing a lot last year in terms of media. He was getting back on Sky again. He was on Sky quite a bit last year, wasn't he? And we've just lost a guy so young, and I think his career in social media, not in social media, in media, was about to kick off massively again. And I'm gutted. I'm gutted for his family. Obviously, it's going to be hard for them over the next. Well, it's going to be hard for, like, ongoing, but especially the next 6 months to a year. How's it going to affect his son? Only time will tell. And obviously, I just send my commiserations and obviously full respects to them. And it's I think it's going to be one that a lot of people are probably not going to be able to talk about for quite a while yet. Especially people, like you said, like people like Lee Judges, Sophie, who are really, really close to him. I think it's quite. I don't think people are going to be able to talk about it for quite a while because I think it's quite hard because of obviously how close they were to him, and it's just I don't think there is much else we can say really, apart from what he was in, weren't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very, very hard to take. And like, speak just very quickly, I know we've spoken a lot about his social media presence. What was great about him was that there was no airs or graces about him. Like, again, we talked about this earlier on. He just felt like a guest. I was never on a podcast with him, but I've watched many of them, and like lots of people come on like that, in that, like, ex-players, well-known players, and they try and take over and maybe show off a little bit. There was absolutely none of that with Kevin. But I just wanted to show I'm loving the two jerseys that you have there, Liam, and even though this wouldn't be synonymous with Kevin, but he would have worn this jersey when he first started playing for Arsenal, and this is an original jersey. This is my jersey that I've passed on to my son. This is an original. You can really tell by how old, the stuff is missing out of it nearly. And when Kevin passed away and we were coming on this evening, I went into my son. I said, "Look, can you give me that jersey for an hour?" And I've been sitting here holding it, thinking of Kevin the whole time. And it's just these jerseys and the ones that you have there behind you, Liam, is how we'll remember Kevin, and everything he brought to us, not just as a player, as a footballer, but as a man. And yeah, all Godspeed to him wherever he may be.
I love the bit that you brought up about the Sky, what he was doing, and how he was like bringing it was almost like a breath of fresh air to the studio, and the energy levels were on a different level, not in a kind of better way, but just on a different level. And you could see the co-presenters feeding off his energy, and they were actually happy to be talking to him, to be interacting with him. And it was almost like he would like give it a second kind of wind to the whole studio. It was like a boost of energy in the studio, and it was palatable. It was just so, it was there for everyone to see. And he wasn't just. We've talked about his football. We talked about how he is as a human being, and how he's carried himself throughout his life. But also he was quite a clever man. He had other business ventures as well, didn't he? He was. I think he had some kind of agency or something where he was in charge of hiring bodyguards or something of the like to high profile people and celebrities, etc. And then I think also he was involved in a record label, and I think he had a couple of big names on that as well. So his talents were not just confined to football. It was also outside ventures as well. So he was. But the point I'm trying to make from that is he still stayed and remained completely humble. You can get agents, can't you, that work for big superstars, whether it be in the bodyguard industry or the record label industry, and that you could see that they're full of arrogance, full of ego, and with him, absolutely nothing at all. It, like all of you said, some of you have been lucky enough to actually talk to him on pods and meet him. He's just the guy that your mate, basically, another friend of yours in your network of friends, and that you could go down the pub and have a drink with, or have a meal with, or have some lunch with, or coffee with, or whatever it might be. And that's what the beauty of that man was. And like you said, there's nothing much else you can say, because I mean, there is loads to say. You can keep on talking about him in a good light, but it's difficult when it's so raw. So I'm just happy that you've let me come on and say a few words, and I'm so glad to have listened to all your tributes as well. So thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, absolutely no problem. As I say, like I know it's going to be raw for other people, but even it's raw for us as well. But I just wanted to do something because he's been on here. He's supported myself and the channel time and time again. I felt it would have been wrong of me not to have organised something like this to honour him because, yeah, as I say, he was always willing from the moment I met him. I think now what. Oh, I was trying to think, 2018, 19? I was trying to think, when he came in, 18, so 2019, there's at an event down in Holloway Road, head of a North London derby, him and Nigel Winterburn. And ever since then, he's always been there to talk to, not even about the channel, just in general. And the last time I actually met him in person, physically, was, as I say, that last Everton game. And I got in that queue that I mentioned before. My brother was there. My brother's 10 years younger than me, so he wouldn't have known Kevin Campbell as a player, basically, from Arsenal's point of view. And by the time Kevin retired, he would have been literally like 3 or 4 years old, whatever. Anyway, I was on the day I got the queue. He's like, "Do you want to have a photo?" I was like, "Yeah." And got to me, and this I didn't even tell my brother who he was in terms of. I told him he was an ex-player. I never mentioned he met me or done stuff with me on the podcast. Never mentioned any of that. And Kevin had a photo with someone else, I was chatting with him. As soon as they've gone, he's turned to me, seen me, gone, "Right," and just come in and hugged me. And it's just took my brother, and even that took me aback because I was like, I wasn't expecting that anyway. Even though he does know, like, okay, again, that was about what he was. He just didn't see anyone bigger or smaller than him. Everyone was that. But my brother was like, "How does he know you? Why was he like that with you?" And I have to explain that. Oh, he's an ex-Arsenal player, as I said, but he's been on the podcast a few times. We chat, we've met up a few times. My brother was just like, wow, because of how he interacted there in that moment. And yeah, I'm happy I've got that memory now with what's happened in the last few days. That my last time I saw him was that moment, and my brother got to see it as well. And obviously, with that, my brother, this happened my brother was at work on Saturday, and when he found out, he reached out to me because he recognised the name. He remembered me mentioning it. He wanted to double check if that was the same person. And I said, "Yeah, he wanted to make sure I was okay as well." And that was, but my point is, even that has a lasting memory on someone like my brother as well. Seeing how an ex-player can conduct themselves and should conduct themselves, even in the years after retirement, and even when they're in the media and they're working for Sky or TalkSport or whoever, or they've got their own podcast and exactly that's how Kevin put himself across and conducted himself, even in that moment. He did that every day. But to see my brother to see that'll leave a lasting impression on him as well going forward.
Very nice. That's a lovely story. That's a lovely story, Ryan. That's heartwarming, and that's what Kevin was. He was a warm person, and for him to come over and give you a big, huge hug like that, that's sensational, and it's kind of, it sums him up perfectly. When he was in studios, like that's we were talking about, he made hosts feel at ease in the Sky Studios and so on, and he just brought a great warmth to all of that, and it's great to see that it wasn't just like, not that I ever thought it wasn't just for show, for TV, that he was doing that in real life, literally out with the fans as well. So yeah, that's a lovely story.
Can I just say what? Oh, sorry. Can I just
go on, Neil. You got me.
Just very one last thing. I can't remember. I think it was you actually, Liam, who mentioned that he was an early riser, and he would get up early, and you knew that because he'd tweet something. But every time I looked at his tweets when I eventually got up, there were positive tweets. There were welcoming tweets for the morning ahead and the day ahead. Some people who are early risers and maybe they've got things going on in their life and they're not looking forward to the day. But they're big fans of Kevin Campbell, not necessarily because he's Arsenal, but just fans of the man himself. to see that, you know, it can actually be a bit of a boost. I mean, there's so much talk about mental health and everything else. For him to just come out with something like that first thing in the morning, it can actually affect someone positive. Some other people might not think anything of it, but it could affect one or two people in a really positive way. And he was doing that, and he didn't have to. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to get up at 4 in the morning and then first thing he do is, you know, present himself with or welcome the world with a positive tweet or a nice tweet. He didn't need to do that, but he did it. So that's just another little thing about him. But I'll stop now. But thank you again. Thanks. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's cool. That's cool. But he was that was one of my big things with Kevin, was that how he did that day in, day out. And it probably helped him as well, but it supported others. And when I hear about, like, when George, our friend George, he got mugged on a train, Kevin reached out to him straight away, which was absolutely incredible. And like you said, Neil, he don't need to do that, but Kevin did because it was the right thing to do, and Kevin cared. And that's why he touched hearts of so many people. And it was a really tricky one Saturday, because I had a lot of Arsenal friends come over to mine, and when I had the news, I was like, this is the last thing I want to do now, is kind of obviously have a good drink. But do you know what? I had a good drink, and we had a couple of toasts for Kevin in the evening and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't go to bed till really late, and before I went to bed, I went on social media because I'd avoided it all day. And no word lie, my whole social media was just literally tribute after tribute after tribute after tribute after tribute. And I don't think I've seen that ever before. And literally for the next half hour, I was a wreck. I was an absolute wreck. But I was just reading and you just realise that this guy, whatever industry he was in, whatever players he played with, they had the full respect for him, but they had a story to tell with it. They had an absolute story to tell with it. And it's a bit of a shame, really. I'd love to see Righty and Kevin in a studio together, because do you know what? That is what they were as players, is exactly what they're like in terms of how they kind of present themselves in front of, obviously, the media when they could do their football duties on different channels. They're them. They're not acting up to anyone. They're not trying to be anyone they're not. They're not trying to gain points. They're just them. They just their personalities just shine through. And when I think about it now, and I probably haven't thought about this before with these two players, that's what they were always like at the football club. And obviously Righty's Righty. Whatever Righty does, he's obviously number one. But Kevin was the unsung hero. He was the absolute unsung hero, and Righty will know that. Righty will know that, and Righty will respect that and appreciate that and love that. But he done so much hard work firstly for the team, but for Righty as well. And I'm just blessed that I was around in that era to be able to kind of live the moments. And I think, like you said earlier on, Ian, he won a lot of stuff with Arsenal. Yeah. It probably don't get renowned as much now because it's quite a while back. But he won the Youth Cup with Arsenal. Like you said, he banged 59 goals in the season. He then won the Premier, not the Premier League at the time, but the First Division title in '91 with a team that was without their skipper for nearly the whole season, and they went to lose one game the whole season. He was part of that. He then obviously went and won the Cup double, and then went and won the Cup Winners' Cup. And Kevin was a massive part in them finals. A massive part in them finals. But yet again, he would do the unsung hero's job for the main man to take the plaudits. And that was Kevin all over. And even when you think about the Cup Winners' Cup in 94 when Smudger scored, Kevin's always there. And when I think about nowadays, would you, like you said, would you get a player like that? I think you'd find it very, very, very hard to get a player in your club who would do what Kevin did. And I don't think many players, and let's be honest, Kevin was pretty young when Righty come in. And no, at the time, it was a bit of it weren't like we needed a forward. Alan Smith was a proven prolific goal scorer. Kevin had just blasted us to a Division 1 title. All right, Kevin could have took that totally the wrong way, but he never did. And that's just him in a nutshell. He was just the ultimate team player for me. And yeah, I have nothing else to say no more. I just think that everything he done in his career, he done it for the people.
And they've got a comment here that says, often nicknames are tongue in cheek, but Kev's was spot on, super. We also had another nickname, Rambo, because of coming through. He was just an absolute warrior, basically, and that's why he got the nickname Rambo up from the Arsenal lot. But yeah, super Kev, like, that sums it up, really, what he was all about. But yeah, sorry, got.
No, I was just going to say, and can you think? I know it's kind of like Kevin Campbell is of a certain era, right? But can you picture a player of today, say in 20, 30 years time, like say from Arsenal's current squad, or any footballer of today's era, who will take the time in, I'll say in 20, 30 years time, to do podcasts with the fans, to kind of be as welcoming to kind of the normal folk, if you want to put it that way. Like, and I know obviously players are earning so much more money nowadays, but I can't see anybody, like you were saying, Liam, like you wouldn't get a player being as unselfish nowadays nearly. I don't think you'll get a person and an ex-footballer being so freely open with his time, and that he gives the fans, has given the fans. And I really think he's almost one of a kind in that way. Like he's just sensational what he's done for everybody.
There's probably not one now, Ian, but there's one in the past that might have done it, and that would have been Rocky Rocastle.
Yeah, absolutely. Rocastle.
Yeah. I was literally just thinking that.
How amazing would that have been, having those three in the studio together, but all best friends and all very different personalities. I suppose Kevin's kind of got a bit of both, bit of Righty and a bit of Rocky in him, but just three amazing human beings together. That would have been just insane. But hopefully at least Kevin is with Rocky now, and they can be sharing some memories and nostalgia together. But yeah, that's the one I can't think. But you're right. I think the modern game. I think the world has changed a lot, Ian. Yeah. The world has changed so much. For me, it's very unrecognizable now. It is really all about egos. There's a lot of greed, a lot of selfishness, and I don't think the word. And this is not being sexist, but the word gentleman doesn't have any meaning for me anymore. Not like it used to in the old days. Showing my age, of course, but yeah. But yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the world has changed too much for all of that now. I think Kevin was a dying breed.
Yep. Yeah.
I totally agree with you, Neil. I don't think you'll ever see anyone like that ever again. And I do totally agree with you. I think the way social media is nowadays, I think even if someone wanted to do it, I think they'd be too scared to get close to people to do that. Like you got Kevin showed a lot of bottle and courage to do that, because people could have tried to take advantage of that, but because Kevin's character and who he was shone through, people would have dared take advantage. But I do feel nowadays, if there was someone who did want to do that, and I think there will be people that do look at him and think, I wish I could be like that in 10, 15 years time. I just don't see it happening, because like Neil said, the way this world is nowadays and the way people behave and act towards each other, I just don't think no one would do it really to get close to that, not as close to what Kevin has. And it's a shame really, because what he's done is he's built such a chemistry across loads of supporters with himself, and I don't think you're ever going to get a reaction like this ever again, sadly. Ian Wright's the only one I can think of now. Ian Wright's probably the only one I can think of. So you probably will get it again with Ian Wright. But I think after that, like in terms of an absolute chemistry, I don't think you'll see it again. But I don't think I always say now that I don't think you'll ever see another Ian Wright again in your lifetime. Like talking about Wrighty, he was an absolute incredible character, like Kevin was. There were so many incredible characters in that time. You just don't see the players being as passionate now as these guys were. These guys were absolutely passionate about the shirt. And yeah, as I said, that Arsenal were very much of a cup team in the mid-90s. Our league form was just not good enough at times. Could you imagine social media now back in the 90s? Like, I'm glad these guys never had to experience that. And that's probably the other thing why, like you guys like Saka and that probably won't get anywhere close to obviously this, because what they experience on a day-to-day basis, and it's disgraceful really.
Yeah, that's a very good point actually. Yeah, there's so much abuse being hurled at players nowadays that they'll probably avoid social media in the future. Although in 20, 30 years' time, it'll probably be holograms and whatnot, showing my age now. But you're 100% right. Players will probably avoid the cesspit that sometimes social media has become. Yeah. And like for Kevin Campbell, as you said, Liam, when you were saying you had a few drinks and you had a few Arsenal friends over and you turned on your phone and it was all tributes to Kevin Campbell. Like, just a phrase came to my mind. It's just that he meant a lot to a lot of people, and when it's no surprise that kind of the social media, especially the Arsenal social media, was just awash with tributes to him because he just meant so much to so many people. And it's such a shame. It's still hard to process. It's very sad.
I think, obviously, I'll be honest. I think that I probably said what I need to say. I'm glad, first and foremost, for Ryan, yet again, thank you for obviously arranging this tonight. It was definitely something. I'll be honest, I was unsure whether I should do it, but now I've done it. I'm glad I have done it because it's so fresh. But I feel what we've done, we've remembered the absolute best of Kevin Campbell as a player, but also as a gentleman.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like I said earlier, and obviously you're more than welcome, guys. I know it's short. Again, it's still raw. As you can tonight I've been like, but like I said, because of who he was, and he has supported me, the channel, etc., throughout the last few years since we've known each other. I almost felt myself, even though it's still raw, it'll almost be wrong of me not to have done something like this tonight, because that in itself would be dishonoring him for what he was and what he did. And so, yeah, and it's great that I was able to get. I know, and I understand other people was reluctant because it is raw, and they want to process this more before they do their own stuff down the line. I totally understand that. But it was great that obviously yourself, Neil, Ian, and the people in the chat, James popped in briefly, Colin, got Hawkwind, the Arsenal Misfits, even Stefan, who's a neutral, taking part in this, Demsick, and all the other usual suspects, Tariq, Alex, Sam, and we had Mark Taylor in there earlier. Obviously, we had him on the other night for the Scotland game, who's a fellow Gooner, all giving their own tributes as well in the chat. And we've had, whilst we've been live, someone else on X as an Everton fan's come across this, and he's put his own tribute in the comment section as well. But as I say, I wanted to do this because of who he was and what he is, and I wanted to show that respect that he showed us throughout the years as well. And I'm glad we've done this, and hopefully for anyone that hasn't seen this yet, they do come across this. They watch it all. They don't know Kevin, but they're intrigued. Listen to this and then any other tribute shows you see going forward, because it'll be pretty much similar, but in the sense of how we've gone about, in the sense of how he was as a person, how he was as a player, how he was as a friend to certain people as well, or colleagues. But please just do take the time, take the effort to watch this back, listen to this back, and get why he was so important and why this is so raw and why he's got the respect over these last 48 hours since the news sadly came out, that he's got that respect from all fan bases, even clubs he's never even played for. So yeah, I want, as I say, and and I'll say thank you, obviously, Neil and Ian and Liam as well, for giving your stories, and especially you, Liam. I know, as I say, you had your own personal stuff with him as well that we you mentioned at the start in terms of the videos and bits like that, and reaching out to you when Bobby and Billy were around. I don't know what to say really, but thanks obviously to anyone who watched, and obviously anyone who listens to this back. But it's massively appreciated if you do share it around. That we again spread that word, spread this positive love that we have for this brilliant man. First and foremost, before you talk about players and this, man, he was a brilliant man. And I want to send my thoughts and prayers out to his immediate family, all his family, and all his close friends and friends that are going through now a very, very tough time at the moment. All his ex colleagues, be it Arsenal, West Brom, Travisbure, Everton, Cardiff, West Brom. Anyone that's had that honour to play with him as well, or just play alongside, don't play with him, play alongside him, what they're going through as well. In terms of going forward, Liam, when's your next show? Is it tomorrow or later on in the week now?
I'm hoping to do it tomorrow night. I'm just getting the confirmation, so I should be able to get that pretty soon. So hopefully we'll do the Euro show tomorrow night. So we can look ahead to Scotland's game against Switzerland on Wednesday. Where I'm sure.
Switzerland.
Funny enough, I said before I've drawn Switzerland in the work.
Yeah, you got your stuff yet for that?
No, I haven't. I need to do that when I get out of here. So I'm going to order some flags and all that and a banner. So yeah, I'm doing that for the work, but I might just slip it up on Wednesday night. But yeah, we'll get that arranged tomorrow night. Hopefully 8:30, and hopefully we'll get some good people on again. Hopefully.
Neil, thanks for coming along as well, and I want to give your podcast a shout out as well. When what's coming up in there as well? You taking the summer off now.
Yeah, firstly, thanks again. Thank you so much for having me on, and because this is a very, very special tribute in the podcast, so I'm honoured to actually be part of this. So it means a lot to me, and I just want to say again, thank you to you, Ryan, and also to Liam and Ian, who've said some absolutely amazing things in the last hour and a half or whatever it is now. The purely pod is going to be does normally takes a break, but James and Jack normally do the transfer gossip stuff, and because they're really into that, so they've already done one, they might do another one, and then when we come to sign some players, we'll probably get together and discuss what that means and how that might impact us in the next season and the coming seasons ahead. But yeah, for me, generally, I don't do the gossips and the stuff, so I'm going to have a little break now, and I'll hopefully be back for the new season. But thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Oh yeah, I'm like you nowadays. Like 10, 15 years ago, I'd have been interested in terms of the rumours and all, but now it's like just get the golden bar across the Sky Sports, or have the Arsenal announcement with the shirt, then I'll get involved.
That's the one, Ryan. That's exactly it.
Oh dear. And Ian, thank you very much for coming on tonight and giving your thoughts on Kevin and all that.
No problem at all.
Hope to have you on again soon. Hope to get on again soon in a more brighter situation.
more upbeat podcast. But no, thanks very much for having me on. It's been cathartic. It's great to speak to like-minded Arsenal fans about Kevin, and as he famously said, there is nothing better in life than being a gooner. Yeah.
And lastly, Liam as well. Obviously, thank you very much for coming on and co-hosting this as well, and giving your time and energy into this. I know, as I say, it's raw, but I do appreciate it. And so you got your show on tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll be with you Thursday as well. I might have to. I don't know what I can do. I don't know if I can do Wednesday yet. I think she'd kill me if I do one. Sunday. Well, that'd be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't think I'm going to get away with that one.
You say you do the evening shift with Billy.
Yeah. I'll definitely be on Thursday afternoon. No.
Thursday 5 o'clock.
Have a big game.
Yeah. 5 o'clock kickoff. Winner with Wall, but qualified. Obviously I'll be back myself nice and early tomorrow morning, as it is fixture release day tomorrow. In terms of we find out our fixtures are where we're starting our campaign for 24-25. A nice and early start, 9 a.m. So I'll be going live 5 minutes before and get everyone allowed to come in and all that and set up. And then we find out if we're home, if we're away. Could it be, if we lose this weekend, could it be Arsenal, Everton, be it Goodison or at the Emirates opening game?
That'd be beautiful.
And then both clubs come together and do something, not just on the shirts, like Dickie, like we suggested. I saw one Arsenal fan apparently emailed Arsenal and asked them on the first home game of next season to have the Dickie bow on the shirt. to honour Kevin Campbell and obviously do other bits and pieces as well. If it was Arsenal or Everton as well, first game, but both clubs come together and fan bases and do multiple stuff to honour him as well, that would be interesting. So I say, considering what's got happened. Stefan, I don't think so. Not having Ipswich. Go away. Would it Man City deal with you like they did with Burnley last year? Oh dear. But yes, I'll be back for that. And then obviously Liam's got his show tomorrow night. And then obviously on Wednesday got the Switzerland v Scotland. I'll be covering that. England versus Denmark on Thursday. And then on Friday, probably the biggest game of the week, actually, France versus Holland on Friday night. That's going to be a very interesting one. I'll cover that as well. And apart from that, we'll go from there. Anything else, we'll go from there, really. But yeah, thank you again. I keep saying it. Thank you so much for taking part and coming in, giving all your tributes and all that in the chat, and obviously these guys on the screen here. Obviously Melvin as well, his video earlier. And yeah, we'll see you soon, guys. Take care of yourselves, and as always, up the Arsenal. And we miss you, we miss you.